Hello, all you soldiers of the Empire out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor.
I mean, you just went right for it.
Yeah, I know what it's like on those cramped birds of prey. You need some podcasts to listen to.
Sure.
My name is Fletcher. About to say hello is Data.
Hey.
Today we're going to recap and discuss Star Trek DS9, Season 5, Episode 21, Soldiers of the Empire. Alternate title, How Martok Tovadoked His Groove Back.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Yeah. Just be happy I didn't go with the Bemothman prophecies.
No, I like that. That's good. It doesn't make any sense.
The less sense it makes, the funnier it is.
Yeah.
Just in case this is your first time watching Star Trek DS9, we will attempt to only discuss spoilers up through this episode, but proceed at your own risk, as accidents do happen, and sometimes stuff on purpose also happens. Soldiers of the Empire originally aired April 28th, 1997. It was written by Ronald D. Moore and directed by LeVar Burton.
Yeah, we got all-star team here.
Yeah. And, nice, one writing credit, so.
RDM don't need help.
Yeah. And LeVar Burton, I think LeVar Burton is another, like Avery Brooks, likes to let his actors do weird things, but I did not notice it as much in this episode.
Okay.
Or maybe because he directed that episode where Gul Dukat sat on a sandburr that one time, right?
That sounds, yes, I'm pretty sure that's right.
I think that's just what I always think of when I think of LeVar Burton directing. Sarah Clofton is not in this episode, but Aaron Eisenberg is for some reason.
Armin Shimmerman also not in this episode.
But yeah, Armin Shimmerman is not. So maybe, I was thinking this might happen while he's down on Ferenginar.
Yeah. That would make sense to me. There's no star date in the episode, so it's hard to say. Although we do get Worf's combat log that it's the 53rd day of the year of Kahless 999.
Yeah, they're coming up on the millennium, so.
And then it notes here, note that Klingon years do not match standard Terran years. So in case you were thinking that this might have occurred in the year 999.
So I must go back to Earth and make contact with the Holy Roman Empire.
Very important.
Yes. So, diving into it, we don't have anything really to say about Ronald D. Moore or LeVar Burton or anything like that. These are...
Yeah, we've been over these guys before.
These are old friends. So, diving into our recap, General Martok is laid up in the infirmary while Dr. Bashir chews him out for turning the holosuite safety protocols off during training. Especially since Martok is now ocularly challenged and refusing a replacement eye.
I really think you should get that replacement eye. I'm just saying.
Yeah. He just thinks that scar is too badass.
I mean, it is. He's not wrong, but...
Martok says he doesn't want a damn eye, and he has to train on hard mode to get back in form after his 2 years on the Jim'Hadar prison asteroid. Martok gets a message that the Klingon High Council wants to talk to him, and he leaves, while Bashir tells him to stop coming in and bleeding all over the carpet.
Yeah, it's hard to clean up.
Maybe the infirmary is not a good place for carpet?
Yeah, well, or at least, you should have some sort of futuristic carpet that's super easy to clean blood out of, and viscera and things, if it's in the infirmary.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff is happening in that infirmary. Meanwhile, Nog is helping Worf install a new mini-fridge or something on the Defiant, but they are not having much luck. Worf sends Nog down to reinstall the operating system one file at a time.
That's the most ridiculous request anyone has ever made ever.
Much to Nog's annoyance, rightfully so. Nog is briefly delayed from this task when Martok comes in to explain the episode's premise, but he's eventually able to slip by and is not seen for the rest of the episode.
It was really important to get him. We needed our Ferengi, token Ferengi for the episodes.
Right. So, we can't get Armin Sherman. Oh, no. Rom is on his honeymoon or something, so...
They probably just, contracted Aaron Eisenberg to do so many episodes this season, and they're like, crap, where are we going to put him?
Can't waste that valuable Aaron Eisenberg time.
Yeah.
But it just sets me up for disappointment when we don't get the B story of Nog reinstalling the operating system.
Just cut back to him randomly throughout the episode. He's like, file 178, file 362.
You just show him like dragging and dropping files into a folder. And then like a little progress bar.
How does one file at a time help? Like, I don't understand why this is supposed to be helpful.
This is, I don't know how much of a computer repair expert Worf is. Honestly.
Worf's like, go downstairs and try unplugging it and plugging it back in.
Mm-hmm.
See if that works first.
But Martok reveals it was in fact Worf who gave him the injury during training, establishing that Worf can indeed kick Martok's ass. Martok has been given command of a bird of prey, the Rotaran, to go track down a missing Klingon battle cruiser, the Bemoth, that has gone missing near the Cardassian border. This will be Martok's first battle assignment since getting back from the prison camp, and he wants Worf to come along as his first officer. Captain Sisko is fine with letting Worf go, but wonders why Worf wants to go. Worf explains that when he was in prison being made to fight all those Jem'Hadar, see the episode By Inferno's Light,
Yep.
He briefly considered giving up and letting the Jem'Hadar kill him. But Martok looked into his eyes, and they shared a moment of Tovadok, a deep, unspoken understanding between two warriors on the field of battle. This gave Worf Martok's warrior heart, and he was able to go on fighting. For this, he credits Martok with saving his life.
I do like the interaction where he's like, yeah, there's not really an English word for it, despite the fact that we're using universal translators. And
Right. Well, that's why, I don't know. Universal translators never translate Klingon for some reason. I don't know.
Not when you want to intentionally speak Klingon right. to make a point or whatever.
So Sisko grants Worf temporary transfer to the Klingon Defense Forces while inwardly regretting asking Worf any questions. Then he wishes him a hearty Qapla' and sends him on his way. And the Rotaran shows up at DS9 in a pretty not bad little CGI shot.
Yeah.
Which we got a few of this episode. Kira divides up Worf's duties among the other crew while he's away. O'Brien is given the job of recalibrating the small arms because O'Brien is an experienced combat officer.
And no one else is.
Right. And possibly also he knows how to recalibrate the arms or something.
I feel like any combat officer should know how to recalibrate their small arms.
Yeah. Bashir is now intelligence officer because only he and Dax have high enough security clearance, and she needs Dax to be fleet liaison officer because presumably Bashir would suck at that job even more than intelligence officer.
Although one has to wonder who ends up being fleet liaison officer.
Yes, this is an important question.
Also, who did all of this stuff before Worf showed up?
This is also a good question. It just reminds, what's that economic concept called where if you have one guy that's good at one thing and one guy that's good at another thing, you make them do the thing that they're good at. But if one guy is better at two things than the other guy, then you give that guy the more important job.
I've never heard of this concept, but it makes sense so far.
I seem to remember learning about it in some class or another. But yeah, Bashir is that guy that is worse at all things, is what we learned in this scene. So Bashir hopes Worf enjoys his time away, but Dax and O'Brien set him straight about the realities of life aboard a Klingon ship. In particular, the relevant to this episode fact that you advance in rank by killing your superior, but only after issuing a challenge under specific circumstances. Like cowardice.
It's much more detailed than when Riker took this same position as first officer on a Klingon ship.
Oh, yeah.
They were just like, yeah, you got to kill the person above you or whatever. And he's like, wait, what? But now we know more.
Yes. Then two Klingons walk into the bar who are frankly not the most intimidating Klingons I've ever seen.
No, but they really want you to think they are.
Right. But I guess they're scary enough for our guys. They are followed by Odo, who is apparently just following them around, keeping an eye on them.
Because of how intimidating they are.
Right. He points out that one of them is wearing a necklace of Cardassian neck bones. Then the camera pushes in on Dax, who looks worried, or possibly turned on. It's hard to tell.
Jeez, I just... imagine all of the like cleaning and stuff you have to do to get those in good necklace shape.
I wonder like what prop guy's job was to make those Cardassian neck bones.
Just like took some chicken bones and strung them together.
Cardassian necks are like chicken legs.
Yeah, exactly.
So later, Dax walks with Worf, now dressed in his snazzy new Klingon uniform, minus the sash, reminding us that the House of Moog is no more. Worf says he doesn't want a lengthy goodbye, and Jadzia agrees. Good, see ya, says Worf. Oh no, says Dax. I mean, I'm coming with you. Haha, gotcha.
Gotcha.
And it's fine with Sisko. Although, as you pointed out, I am worried about who will liaison with the fleet now. Like, the fleet is going to be trying to, like, liaison with Deep Space Nine, and it's going to be a huge disaster.
Now Sisko is going to have to liaise.
All by himself.
Or, one of those background actors, I don't know. There's, whoever replaced Michael Eddington.
Go down to the bar and get more, and he'll do it. Dax is now the science officer of the Rotaran, possibly the first science officer ever on the Rotaran, or any Klingon ship. Dax settles in and gets acquainted with the crew, represented by 3 Klingons I shall dub Bad Attitude Klingon, Really Bad Attitude Klingon, and Lady Klingon, whose mom Dax banged once.
Yep. That's all the character that she gets.
Right.
Also, I guess she's hooking up with neither of those bad attitude Klingons, but yet another Klingon.
Other Klingon.
Yeah.
So Worf comes onto the bridge to take his place as the first officer and review the ship's battle record. Okay, this battle record is not great, says Worf, but we can work on that. Every day is a fresh start. But the crew doesn't seem convinced. Then Martok enters to take the captain's chair, and they get on their way, when Martok dramatically orders, ahead, 1/4 impulse.
Yep.
I was like, they're really building up that, like, put it in reverse and drive slowly down the driveway order. Then they lay in a course, but Martok quickly makes a course adjustment to go around a nebula that could have some Jem'Hadar in it. This does not help the obvious morale situation on the bridge.
We love nebulas, they say,
Right.
and they're very saddened to not get.
They simultaneously always want to fight the Jem'Hadar, but also never want to fight them.
It is a conundrum.
Worf tries to lead the crew in a rousing Klingon space shanty, but the crew isn't super into it.
Apparently, it is called the Warrior's Anthem. And
I know they sing about poo a lot. That's what I got from listening to that song.
So the Warrior's Anthem, it says, was first heard in the CD-ROM adventure Star Trek Klingon, which also featured J.G. Hertzler, though not as Martok.
Oh.
But this is its first appearance in canon Star Trek. And
all right.
Assistant Director B.C. Cameron is quoted here saying, everybody sang. All the background players, the extras, the crew, we had big cards with all the Klingonese words written on them for the actors to read. For days, that's all you'd hear on stage, people singing this battle song. I feel like, don't you have to pay the extras if they say stuff?
Maybe there's a singing loophole.
Could be. If everybody's singing, then you don't get extra money.
And they're called background performers. I forget. It's like listening to the Delta Flyers podcast. Anytime they say the word extras, Armin Sherman's like, no, please, background performers.
Well, yeah, he's got to represent his people.
Right. Yeah. So, they sing the song. It's about poo and stuff. I don't know. We don't get a translation.
Hold on. I found the translation.
Oh, good.
Oh, wait. So there's original lyrics and then there's literal translation listed here.
Okay.
Let me see what the difference is. Okay. It seems like the original lyrics. They're pretty similar. But anyway. So here as in like what you do with your ears, not like come here. Here, sons of Kahless. Here, daughters too. The blood of battle washes clean, the warrior brave and true. Like how it rhymes, even in English.
Ooh, nice.
We fight, we love, and then we kill. Our lives burn short and bright. Then we die with honor and join our fathers in the Black Fleet, where we battle forever, battling on through the eternal fight. And then in the literal translation, there's another line that's, we won't stop, we continue fighting, we compete.
Pretty good Klingon song.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hope whoever made that computer game got some money from that.
Apparently the music was written by Keith Halper.
Nice. So hopefully he got a paycheck.
It sounds like the song was written in English and then Mark Okran translated it to Klingon. So
hopefully he got a paycheck too.
And the song was written in English by Hilary Bader, who wrote 2 episodes, or the story for 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine.
I do remember that name.
4 episodes, I'm sorry. I don't know why they mix it up. Rules of Acquisition, Meridian, Battle Lines, and Explorers. All of my favorite Deep Space Nine episodes.
Meridian, wow.
Yeah.
Dax shows up to lunch and has to kick a guy out of her chair. What makes that her chair, I don't know.
Why she needs to kick this guy out of it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Because it's closer to the camera. The Baccarat, or the stewed Baccarat liver isn't super fresh, but luckily Dax brought a few barrels of blood wine to help it go down, and this makes the crew perk up a little.
Yeah, they haven't had any blood wine in forever.
Yeah, they're like, oh, blood wine. Meanwhile, Martok and Worf discuss the morale/insufficient aggression problem.
I do love reading the, personnel reviews. It's like, insufficiently aggressive.
Martok diagnoses it as a case of self-fulfilling defeat prophecy. Easy, says Worf. One quick victory over the Jem'Hadar will set things right. Back down in the mess hall, Dax listens to stories of the Rotarans' many humiliating defeats at the hands of the Jem'Hadar. Let's face it, we all suck, says bad attitude or very bad attitude Klingon. They kind of switch positions constantly. I think this guy is the very bad attitude Klingon, though.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that he's the very bad.
Yeah.
It's just, speaking of the differentiation between these various Klingons, Ronald D. Moore is quoted in here talking about how in the episode, it was really important to give each Klingon an individualized personality and look. And
Sure.
of the crew of the Rotaran, he says one of them thinks they're cursed, and one of them is a female engineer who doesn't want to give up. And then there's the troublemaker who just enjoys making the situation worse and worse in a perverse desire to destroy them all. However, individualized physicality was also of vital importance.
Sure.
And he says, on some shows where we've had a lot of Klingons on camera, even I get them confused. So we wanted more visual distinction here. As a result, one was given short cropped hair and one had no sleeves. Tavana's hair is red, and there was even a blonde Klingon.
Oh, wow.
So that maybe it's the first blonde Klingon ever. I don't know.
I didn't notice the blonde Klingon.
Yeah, I think the guy who's the girl's boyfriend is blonde.
Oh, okay. So, but yeah, they especially those 3 had pretty. They were not at risk of getting confused with each other. So, pretty good. But yeah, the guy is like, yeah, we all suck. And by definition, you also suck just by being here. But then Dax gets in a sick burn about her bed being empty by choice, unlike yours.
Uh-huh.
And everybody laughs. But regular bad attitude Klingon brings the mood down by going on this speech about how they're all cursed.
I guess O'Brien was like a blonde Klingon, wasn't he? Sorry, I'm still back on
that. I don't know. I never thought much about it. Then they cloak and get the call to battle stations. They've encountered a Jem'Hadar ship. They've got the drop on it, and they have it right in their sights, a guaranteed victory. But Martok hesitates and gives the order to fly away over everyone's moans. Then Dax pulls Worf aside and is like, dude, you've got to do something about this.
It's like, I know I'm a Starfleet officer and everything, but we gotta kill some people. Right. I mean, if we don't kill some people, there's gonna be trouble.
It is mutiny time. Worf goes to Martok and asks, what the hell? Martok, who earlier found it tedious how humans always worry about what might happen, rationalizes that the Jem'Hadar could have gotten off a distress call or who knows what, then they'd be up to their necks in Jem'Hadar. But down in the mess hall, very bad attitude Klingon is going on a rant about how the Cardassians suck, but at least they fight for their people. But the Jem'Hadar are made for nothing but fighting, and thus they're better than the Klingons, and the Klingons are destined to lose. Because...
He's also super drunk, so,
Yeah, even Martok fears them. Then regular bad attitude Klingon gets mad and starts fighting very bad attitude Klingon. Then that other Klingon guy gets involved, and then Dax has to break the whole thing up by just shooting bad attitude Klingon.
Yeah, like, dude just snapped.
Yeah. Worf finds Dax with blood all over her, and Dax is like, okay, yeah, dude, you have to take command away from Martok. He's lost his nerve, and these guys need leadership before they completely lose it. Later they get a distress call, which they identify as the B'Moth. It's an obvious need of help, but Martok fears a trap. Then he gets a little unhinged and starts ranting about these soulless killing machines, the Jem'Hadar, and how there's no hope against them. Worf is like, dude, take it down a notch. There's still a lot we don't know.
Yeah, seriously. He's just like, maybe we should learn things before we just jump to all sorts of conclusions.
Maybe let's just go see what's going on.
And then there's that, like, J.G. Hertzler plays the perfectly awkward moment where he's like, yes, of course. And then he sits down and after a moment looks up and is like, dismissed. Like, nothing weird just happened here.
Yeah. And then Dax comes to Worf and Worf is like, okay, yeah, you're right. Martok's got to go. Oh, well, okay, before that. So they search around and they find the B'Moth and they get ready to mount a rescue, but Martok asks what side of the border the ship is on. He's certain there's a Jem'Hadar trap, and he has orders from the High Council not to cross the border. Worf points out that if it's a trap, it doesn't matter what side of the border they're on, and he's pretty sure the High Council would be fine with them crossing the border, seeing as rescuing the ship is their entire mission.
Yep.
But Martok will not risk and storms out. And that's when Worf is like, okay, you're right, Martok's got to go. Then the crew come to Worf saying, Martok must die. And Worf is like, well, that's my problem, not yours. And then very bad attitude Klingon looks like he's about to fight Worf, but then some guys with guns come onto the bridge, and then Worf is like, let's go rescue the B'Moth. And I'm not exactly sure what was happening in that scene, but the crew seemed happy at the end. So
apparently there's a short scene of Dax like pushing some buttons, and Ronald D. Moore comments, Dax was actually sending a message to Ordekin, that's like Tavana's lover, the blonde Klingon guy, warning him of the impending mutiny. So that's why he shows up a little bit later with some more armed Klingons. But he says, the cutaway to Dax didn't read as well on camera as we'd hoped, and now Ordekin's arrival is a bit mysterious.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, what side are those gun guys supposed to be on? Like, Worf's? Like, were they waiting out there? Or did they just show up for the heck of it? Like, yeah, it was a little not clear. But so Martok comes onto the bridge like, what's going on? And Worf is like, you are a coward, and I challenge you for command. An epic Dik-Tak fight ensues, with the crew cheering for Worf. But then Martok stabs Worf in the side, and the crew immediately change to chanting for Martok.
Well, yeah, because if you don't, then you're next, so...
With no hesitation. This is interrupted when they get an alert that a Jem'Hadar ship is coming.
Oh, right, we're in, like, enemy territory, and
right.
Should pay attention. Got it.
Martok is like, you know what? Let's get him. And then the crew spontaneously erupts into enthusiastic shanty singing, and the bird of prey gets ready for battle.
As Worf dies. Or, right. No, wait, not quite.
As Worf is bleeding all over the place, and him and Dax just kind of leave. But the episode is out of time and budget, so we just cut back to Deep Space Nine, where Bashir is whining about his intelligence officer duty. The Rotaran returns and requests blood wine for their glorious victory that we did not get to see. Martok meets Worf in Quarks and tells him he was right, and the High Council was fine with them crossing the border.
They're all getting medals.
Yeah, everybody's getting medals. Then he asks how Worf knew he wouldn't kill him when he dropped his guard and let Martok stab him. And Worf is like, what? Oh yeah, I totally did that on purpose. I did not know. Martok notes that Worf is still wearing the crest of the House of Moog. He hands Worf his own crest and invites him to join the House of Martok. Worf rips off his father's crest and throws it into the garbage can, then locks arms with his new brother. The end.
Yeah, it is interesting to me how he doesn't hesitate to just be like, although he's really been pushing the House of Moog ever since the Next Generation, and it's like, I don't know that this even deserves to be a house. Like, you guys aren't that big. You have like 2 dudes. Like, I don't know if his brother was married, or whatever. If his brother was married and had kids, then it's pretty horrible that, like, what they did to him.
Well, apparently they had lots of, like, land and soldiers and stuff.
Yeah. But that can just be taken away from you for no reason. So.
Which they just turned over when Gowron got mad at Worf.
So, yeah, this is probably a good call. Martok's probably got a pretty snazzy house, and you don't even live in the Klingon Empire. To keep trying to push like your house that you're the leader of is kind of selfish. Yeah, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's just time to cut our losses on this House of Moog. It's not going anywhere.
I mean, at this point, just establish House of Worf if you need a house. Like,
true.
Start from the ground up.
I just can't help but think about where what's-his-face is right now.
Oh, yeah, Kern. Or whatever his name is now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just sad.
The less we think about that, the better.
It really is. So, the origins of this episode. Ira Stephen Bear goes to Ronald D. Moore, and he's like, give me Star Trek, Klingon. A story that we could do as a Star Trek episode, but with all Klingon characters. And so
wait, who went to him with that?
Ira Stephen Bear tells Ronald D. Moore to write this story.
Didn't he always not like Klingon stuff before?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And so Ronald D. Moore came up with a very different idea initially, where Worf and the crew of the Rataran answer a distress call from a Klingon colony, but when they get there, all of the inhabitants are missing, and a nearby lake is surrounded in a mysterious fog. Ooh. Then, when they approach it, a boatman appears to take them to the entrance to Greythor. Once inside, they meet a friend.
Greythor?
Yeah, like the Klingon afterlife.
Oh, okay. I was like, is that like Greyskull?
No, like Greythor, it's been mentioned before, but I think it's like the good Klingon afterlife, not the bad one.
I thought Sovokor was the good one.
Yeah, I'm wrong. Greythor is the bad one. Greythor is hell, where what Feklar rules or whatever from that episode of The Next Generation with the devil.
Yeah.
But anyway, so once they get in there, they meet a friend of Martok's. He's like, hey, take me with you. And then they meet Worf's dad, Moog.
So they get into hell.
Yeah.
And they meet a friend of Martok's, and he wants to get out of hell.
As you would, yeah.
Sure.
But then Worf's dad is there also, which that's sad.
Uh-huh.
And so it says, there's a number of reasons this particular story never made it into production. Firstly, Ira Stephen Bear felt that the episode was trying to accomplish too much, showing both the realistic day-to-day operations of a bird of prey and a mythic journey to the afterlife.
Well, okay, so it doesn't turn out to be like a hologram or Q or something? They just really go to hell? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Bear also felt it was too late in the season to do such a philosophical show dealing with life, death, and hell.
I don't know. I want to see that now.
Moore's idea formed the basic plot of the Voyager episode, Barge of the Dead, which he also wrote.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's... as I was reading this earlier, I was like, this is sounding a lot like that Voyager episode. And it's like, oh, wait, that's... Okay, that makes sense.
Nice.
And so, about this show, what it ended up being, Moore says, it became a show about Martok and Worf on a bird of prey going out on a mission. I knew that Dax had to be there because I needed another voice, but what was important to me was giving the ship an inner life, in the sense that you walk in and each of the people there has their own specific character and backstory and relationships, and we find out, like, what makes the bird of prey run, how things work, that sort of thing.
Sure. And also we need Dax because she got gypped out of being in Apocalypse Rising.
It's true. This episode is a favorite of J.G. Hertzler, who sees it as solidifying the character of Martok. Of Ron Moore, who wrote Soldiers of the Empire, Hertzler comments, I'm forever in his debt. The episode had a lot of heart.
So
there you go. Apparently the cast and crew felt the episode was really great. Ira Stephen Bear, however, unsatisfied.
Of course.
He says, this is an episode that almost made it. LeVar is one of the strongest directors we have when it comes to working with actors, but the casting process was difficult, and I don't think the makeup always helped the actors. None of it went far enough. Bear was especially displeased with the toughness of Martok's crew, saying that scene at Quark was really depressing. They're supposed to be the baddest guys. One of them has teeth around his neck, and people at the bar talk about them like they're bad guys, but they're not badass at all.
Yeah. But they kind of had their chests puffed out, so...
Yeah. I like how we called out this same thing that he's talking about. So
also, I'd like to issue a correction. Those were Cardassian neck bones.
Yeah.
Pay attention to your own show, Ira Stephen Bear.
He says, throughout the entire show, without a doubt, the toughest man on the ship is Martok, and that totally screwed up the show in my mind. I mean, I thought it was pretty clear that Worf, or possibly Dax, was the most badass on the ship.
Yeah, the entire crew was a little bit lackluster compared to Dax and Worf.
I mean, when Worf comes out and he's like, reads their service record, and he's like, it's clear that none of you are worthy of my blood or my life. And I'm like, it kind of is, right? Like, Worf is so far above this crew.
Yeah, these guys are, they are not the Klingons' best. These are not the be-all-you-can-be Klingons.
No, well, that's kind of the point of the episode, I guess.
Yeah.
Gowron must just not like Martok much, that he's like, okay, I'm going to send you on your first mission, take this really crap crew. Or maybe the idea is Martok will whip them into shape.
Yeah, maybe.
I can see it going either way. In 2016, Hollywood Reporter ranked this episode 10th best in their list of the entire series.
Oh, wow. So suck that, Ira Stephen Bear.
Yeah. That's all the notes for this one.
I guess let's jump into reviews, I guess.
Okay, what do you think?
All right, so of this episode, Soldiers of the Empire, so... So I have a few thoughts. Number one, this is kind of continuing the trend of everybody getting their groove back.
Huh.
/ undoing everything that happened in season 4. Although Worf isn't totally, like, reinstated in honor or something. He's, like, in the House of Martok now, so...
True.
I mean, he's pretty much back in his Klingonness. But I felt like, kind of like Odo, just getting his powers back, and it didn't really feel earned. I don't know. I felt this is kind of like a fizzle on that story. Just in terms of, like, Worf's character. I don't know. Maybe it's not. Just because last time we got Quark in the how Quark acquired his groove back, or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Which I had thought was a pretty good way of doing that, where you kind of show him, you know, like I talked about before, like we showed him kind of like getting his conscience, but then kind of reintegrating that into his Ferengi identity, and then kind of like the earned reward for that was his return to grace in Ferengi society or whatever. But this one, I mean, I thought it was just a little funny, or I don't know, a little off with him just like taking off his dad's crest and putting on Martok's crest. Although, I mean, I get what they're going for, and it is kind of the same thing, like, you know, a new start under new terms or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, that part of it didn't quite land as much with me. You've been complaining a lot about the all the one character focused episodes. Which usually doesn't bother me, but I was feeling it a little bit in this one. Maybe I just wanted to see more like Nog installing.
Yeah, that's what you really wanted was
files,
Nog.
But
we haven't gotten nearly enough of him lately.
I think maybe I've just gotten fatigued on all these things, like kind of repeating these kind of like beats just with all the characters and with all the stuff that was kind of set up in season 4. I don't know, but the writing and the pacing I felt were pretty good overall. And I like the I mean, all that makes it sound like I didn't like the episode. I did like it. Like, I didn't like it as much as, like, say, Blood Oath as a Klingon episode, but something just felt really kind of, like, tight and focused about it in a way I liked. Like, look, we go, Martok's having some kind of like issues getting his confidence back or whatever. He's put in with a crew and they're kind of not sure what to do. And then I kind of like the Worf and Dax being the facilitator of kind of everybody getting their honor back or whatever. I liked all that stuff. And I also liked, unlike previous like Worf and Dax relationship episodes, which have felt a little bickery between them, like especially the one on
Worf, Risa.
Yeah, Worf committed acts of terrorism on Risa. Yeah. This one they disagree for a little bit, but like you can tell Worf knows right away that Dax is right, and then he's pretty quickly like, okay, yeah, this is a problem. We got to do something. I got to kill Martok. So I kind of liked all those aspects of it. When it was kind of teetering on the edge between Lieutenant Commander and Commander for me, but I think it goes pretty solidly into Commander territory for me.
Okay.
Upon review, I was thinking about this, like how I think if this had been a season 1 or 2 episode, I would have given it Commander easily. Or, maybe probably not Captain, but I would have been like, oh, this is a great episode. But I think maybe that we're starting to get a little bit like spoiled for quality. This is just like, I was watching, I was like, oh, yeah, it was, pretty good. Not a bad episode. Like, I didn't get super bored or anything. And, just a fun little, spend some time on this Klingon bird of prey. I don't know. And, all the stuff I said before. So, yeah, I think, the more I think about it, like Commander is, I think it's pretty solidly in that range. So, anyway, what do you think of the episode?
So, I have mixed feelings on the episode. We've been spending a lot of time away from, I want to say away from the station, which is kind of true, but really just away from the main thrust of the show. I feel like we've had a lot, and like you said, I've been complaining about it. We've had a whole lot of these episodes that are just like hyper focused on a character and not much of like the ensemble. Like I'm looking back at the last few episodes. Ferengi love songs, like we're barely on Deep Space Nine at all. Ties of Blood and Water, we are on Deep Space Nine, but it's almost all Kira. Business as Usual, almost all Quark with a little Dax sprinkled in there. A Simple Investigation is very much an Odo story.
Right.
Dr. Bashir, I presume, very, very Bashir focused, and on and on. So, like, we've been doing this for a while now, and it's starting to really, I'm like, can we get to, can everybody play, please? Can we?
Right.
Because we spent 4 seasons, almost a full 5 seasons now, like, building up the relationships between these characters, and now we're getting to use that very little.
Right.
And I don't necessarily appreciate that.
And like I said, like I like a good character focused story, but like you said, it's just like we've gotten this huge run of like one after another, and so yeah, let's I don't know, maybe do something as a team. I
mean, looking back at like Trials and Tribulations, that was a great ensemble piece where everybody got to do a little bit of fun stuff.
Yep.
So like they've done some of that this season. It's been a while, it feels like, at a stretch. And I appreciate the concept of the episode. The like day in the life on a Klingon ship sort of thing, where we don't get a lot of deep interaction with just like average Joe Klingon, like doing Klingon things. Like they'll show up on the station and then they're kind of like fish out of water because this is a Federation station or whatever, right? But a lot of the Klingons we interact with most are like Martok or Gowron, like, high level Klingons. We don't get a whole lot of this like in their world, and I appreciate that. It's learning more about like Klingon culture in an organic way. And that can be a lot of fun, and I think that it's done relatively well in this episode. And you're also seeing this side of Klingons that I feel like we've heard about, where people have repeatedly said that Worf has like this skewed view of what Klingons are, because he's grown up with this, looking at them from the outside as like and right. Idealizing the culture in a way, to where he's kind of like he's almost like a what's the right word? He's almost like a caricature of like these Klingon ideals, because he wasn't raised in the culture. So it's interesting to put him with these, and you get to see the Klingons who don't live up to that ideal. Not even really close in some of these cases. And they're like, yeah, we've been defeated a bunch. We super suck.
Right.
And so all of that, I like that. That's interesting. And I feel like you could have played with that more, where Worf is having to confront some of this, because he hasn't been in this situation that often. And he could be confronting like that his picture doesn't match up with what's here. But he has to take on a different role of like the first officer and kind of be aloof from a lot of that. And I like having Dax there as like the counterpoint, because once again, we know that Dax the symbiote has like a history steeped in Klingon culture. Yeah. So she's the perfect person to be here to explain both sides. And it's funny to me, I already mentioned, it's like, yeah, I'm a Federation officer. We got to go murder some people. Like, we're on a Klingon ship now. We have to do Klingon shit.
Right.
Whereas if they'd been on the Defiant, then avoiding that Jem'Hadar patrol ship and just moving on to do your mission, that's exactly what you would have done.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's like, no, we should have killed those guys. Uh-huh. And it's great that she's buying into it, because that's like, she's like, I have to adapt to, when in Rome kind of thing. So there's lots of things that I like about the episode. Even the way that Worf handles Martok in the end, where you realize that Martok is like is having the same issue as the crew in Microcosm, where it's like right. They needed a victory to prove that they could do it, to give them confidence, and Martok needed a victory. But he was looking at it a different way, and you didn't even maybe realize that until he gets it over Worf, and then that inspires him to go on and do what needs to be done. And so the parallel there, I thought, played well. I thought that the way RDM built everything to a crescendo and then handled it, all of that done well.
Right.
It's just that, it's just like on a meta level, I'm like, this is not the time that I want this episode. This is, I feel like we're just, especially after the 2 Ferengi episodes almost in a row, where I'm just like, come on, can we be Federation? Because even like you had the Ferengi episode, and then what's like kind of a Bajor and Cardassian episode with Ties of Blood and Water. It's not even Federation still, and it's just like, come on, can we be what the show was about for a little bit? I give it a little bit of leeway, because knowing that what we're doing with Martok here is going to be relevant moving forward. Mm-hmm. That this is building towards, and I don't know if they even know it at this point, this is building towards something, towards story in the future. On that level also, I appreciate this. Because that's one of the things that I've always liked about Deep Space Nine, that we talked about from the beginning, that I was annoyed when they would bring in these things and then never revisit them. This is not going to be one of those. We're not going to see these individual characters again, other than Martok, I don't think. But the concept of Martok and this bird of prey, and this is going to be a touchstone to Klingon culture for us moving forward. Spoiler.
Right.
So I like all of that, which it leaves me in kind of the same place. In kind of the same place you were, where it's like, is this a lieutenant commander or is this a commander? And I agree earlier at a different point. It wouldn't even have to be season 1. At a different place in the season or a different season, this would easily be commander for me. It's just I'm feeling dragged down at this point, and so I'm trying to decide if it's fair even to put it lower. I think I'm gonna have to go with Commander 2. If you take the episode by itself and don't account for, you know, the feelings that have built up from the third of the season that we've dealt with so far, then before this, I think it's going to be a Commander. It's just I'm very hesitant at that point.
One thing I will say about this episode is that if you were going to do like a marathon of Klingon episodes or something, like this one would be featured for sure.
Yeah.
Like I would gladly watch this along with like Blood Oath.
That one where they go and they think Garon's the changeling.
Right, yeah. That's Apocalypse Rising.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah. And also, you were talking about, because they, Dax even set that up earlier in the episode when she's like, oh, like, the Klingons is actually a really diverse culture. And there's like, you know, there's the big brave Klingons, but there's also cowardly Klingons. And, you know, there's all types within the Klingon, you know, society. So, you know, I think it's at least a good to like attempt, you know, diving into that for any like alien species that's on Star Trek. And some of my favorite Star Trek episodes are the ones that do that. Like, wasn't there? I mean, there's a Next Gen episode where there was like a Klingon scientist.
Yeah, there's a Ferengi scientist.
I know there's a Ferengi scientist. I thought there was one of the Klingon scientists too.
There might be.
There definitely was a Ferengi scientist, but like, these cultures that like, you know, you don't expect to see that, but you know they got to have scientists, right? So, or you know, the time we met that Klingon lawyer.
Oh, there was, I think in the same episode, or maybe not the same episode. There is an episode where like Dr. Crusher invites a bunch of like scientists on board to see like this test, and then one of them dies mysteriously. There's a Klingon that's like among those, like a warp field specialist or something. I remember this now.
Was that the one with the I think that was the one with the Ferengi scientist.
I was about to say it might have been also. I was trying to decide if it was the one with the Ferengi scientist.
Our Next Gen knowledge is not super strong.
Okay, hold
apparently.
on. I'm looking this up now. Because it was, because the Ferengi scientist was Dr. Rega, and he had come up with like I think he came up with the metaphasic shielding, and then he gets killed by Joe Brill, who pretended to like die.
Right, okay, yeah. This is sounding familiar. But anyway, yeah, I just like, you know, I like seeing like these different offbeat sides of, you know, these alien cultures, because it kind of makes, you know, gives them kind of richness and depth and stuff.
Yes, so. It's always good to expand like the depth, show that they're not like a mono society,
right,
or whatever. So
okay, so how about title review?
This one, okay, so I will say that saying Soldiers of the Empire is generic enough that I might not instantly connect it with this. Like it could have been, it could be almost any Klingon episode. It could even be a Romulan episode, actually, and I might be like, oh, hey, yeah. But I think it's very fitting for this episode.
Yeah. And, again, I haven't seen ahead in a while, but there's a few episodes coming up in the future that I think this would be a good fit for. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good title, so...
Yeah, it's not a bad title. It's not particularly like, clever. They're not like making a pun on anything, but it doesn't, you know, it to be a decent title, it doesn't need to be.
Yeah, and it works with the episode, you know, like...
Yeah, it's completely appropriate for the episode.
I think they've been like, you know what, let's just do a title that's kind of says what the episode is about, so... and I approve. Yep, we didn't do it... See, did we do a nitpick of the week this week?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so this episode gets by unscathed on nitpick of the week. Oh, my favorite line of the episode, which I was thinking was, he's like, "I do not mourn for your honor."
Suck it, guy. Neskit, or whatever your name was.
Yeah. I do not mourn for your honor, Leskit.
Yeah.
was pretty good.
That guy deserved it.
Yeah, for real. That guy's whiny. So you got any final thoughts? I don't think we saw more in this episode. I was looking for him.
Yeah, I don't know that we did.
Especially in the Quark's bar scenes.
My final thought is that I'm ready for a more normal Star Trek or average Star Trek episode, except for the fact that I know what's coming next, and it's not my favorite still. So, spoiler for next time.
Right. Anyway, so I guess we can call it there. So, thank you for joining us today. If you like this discussion of Soldiers of the Empire, maybe you'll like our discussion of Blood Oath.
Yeah.
Or Apocalypse Rising. Or if you want to hear a not so happy discussion, Sons of Moog.
Yeah.
You can find all those past episodes and maybe our future episodes wherever you're listening to this. If you want to leave comments, you can do that on YouTube. If you really hate our opinion and you think we're too whiny about the one character episodes, go tell us off. We don't mind. But my name is Fletcher. About to say goodbye is Data.
Adios.
We look forward to seeing you for our next discussion. But remember, don't stand between me and the glorious victory.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna say Baccarat liver or whatever.
Oh.